Hey everybody, I got Karl Kopinski in the studio, and while I had him here, I made sure he did a sketchbook tour. This is all new art that hasn't been published yet, and at the end, he showed us his new art book, The Big Kopinski. Enjoy.
So yeah, personal sketch. This is one I've just finished. Probably say I do about 5 or 6 of these a year, and then other sketches, 5 or 6 whole books. And started working in kind of Prismacolor or pencil crayon, but mainly because I saw, do you know Claire Wendling? Yeah. I was looking at her work a lot, and she always works in these coloured pencils. They're quite good because they don't smudge as much, so that, you know, I'm left-handed, so you can see even here I'm kind of a messy artist. This is a study I did for Journey to the West. When I was a kid, there was a Japanese TV show that I really loved, like 1970s, all about the Monkey King, and I have a particularly good knowledge of sort of Asian costuming and armour, but it's just gives me another theme to investigate rather than always the sort of European influence things. I do a lot of these sort of pages as well, where usually if a drawing's gone a bit wrong or, you know, I'm not so happy, I'll just fill it with smaller studies, and I quite like them. For me, they're some of the most interesting pages because there's just a lot of ideas, and kind of I can really work through things very quickly and play with heavier tone. Again, another pencil crayon with a little pig and unicorn teddy, Mickey Mouse belt buckle. I like it when you kind of get sucked in and you're, oh, I like that little detail. That's a Napoleonic study piece, really. I was going to do them all kind of going up here, but ran out of steam. Again, I was quite into sort of military history as a kid, so I'm not using any reference here. I've spent a lot of time trying to learn how to draw the helmets right. German and the US helmets are really difficult to draw as well. They're really subtle line you have to do, but quite like that sort of thing. And I don't draw women enough, or sometimes when I draw them, they're a bit too masculine, so trying to practice a bit more feminine, but not like super pouty. Oh, you're like, well, you're holding a gun. Why are you going, oh? And yeah, we talked about this a little with Stan, just to talk, did a bit of teaching with people and how to break it down into simple composite elements. And these were another set of studies for the water demon guy in the Monkey King story. Got 9 skulls from monks. No, just don't need to say anything about it. Some wolf's head studies, and then these were a guy I know asked me to do a few tattoo designs in my style, as it were. So that was quite interesting to do. And then mecha, quite into mecha, and it's sort of Japanese influence, but not really. Again, this is that process I said of doing very quick, loose lines. So all of these armour shapes, even down to this arm, you can see, you know, I wouldn't normally make that decision to do an arm like that, but I spent maybe an hour doing this. So it's fast enough turnaround to play with these ideas. And I think you can do that digitally as well, maybe even quicker, you know, play with those shapes. And it's great for character design in computer games, because they often want a distinctive silhouette for each, especially if you're doing enemies. Again, more sketches and doodles and trying to do sexy girls. And I quite like astronauts as well. I don't know why, just like them. Astronauts again. And this one's no underdrawing, just straight in with pen. But I don't know if you can see it. Look, I went wrong. Not as good as Jungi. There's correction fluid here. And I do a lot of these as demos as well, how you can create authentic characters. And again, a bit of teaching about the skull and how to light it and how to approach the various elements. This is Asterix from those Obelix from those comics I talked about, my version. And I went over to Seville and in Spain and had the best Mexican food I've ever had in Spain. And after that, I started drawing zombie mariachi. Some reason, obviously, as you do. You eat a taco, you draw zombie mariachi. Again, another head study. I can't grow a good moustache, so I'm always jealous of a man with good facial hair. That's one of my sons, obviously. Zombie with arrows and bones hanging out his mouth. And sketching in the airport as well. Quite happy with this girl's way it turned out. Again, no underdrawing here. I just went in with a pencil crayon. I remember at Games Workshop I was doing the same face over and over again, and there'd either be I'd put a moustache on it, or he'd have no hair, he'd have a big beard, and I thought, this is ridiculous. And then it's interesting, the more you look around, if you're a bit of a people watcher, everybody's face is so different, you know. And there was an interesting thing I read, it was all about the fact that its placement of features is more important almost than the fine details of them. So you can recognize someone from, 100 feet away, but you can't see what color their eyes are. You can't, but it's about, the distance here and the face shape. And so if you pay a bit of attention to that kind of thing, placing and changing, and you also, the more you travel, the more you realize that even country to country is definite subtle changes. Maybe everyone's Caucasian or mostly Caucasian, but there'll still be something different in the bone structure. I quite like that. It really interests me, that. And then some kind of random pirate woman. And then I was watching Crimes of Grindelwald on the plane over here, so that's sort of Johnny Depp, really, as a pirate. Well, it's been a pirate, as a different pirate. Batman in like a sort of maybe First World War uniform. Quite like the idea of something like that. But then I drew one of him with a Tommy gun, and everyone was like, Batman never uses guns.
They should read the 50s comics when he used to just shoot people.
Bang, get out of here. And the worst one I did was I did Hellboy, and I gave him the left hand of Doom. And everyone was like, WTF? Yeah, I flipped the image, it looked better. It's kind of Moebius inspired again. Like a robot hunter salvaging robot parts. I don't really know what's going on there. These were studies for a bigger painting I did. Well, actually, no, that was an initial drawing. And then the guy said, well, can't you do him in a similar pose to this one? So then I did a series of like a compositional study there, and then playing around with different characters. But there's no horses in the cover. They just happened. Astronauts. I don't really like that pose. It's just sort of, don't know what she's doing there.
Feels like 0G.
Yeah. And he's like, of course it's 0G. You idiot. Snape and Dobby. And then drawing goats, because I was at a little place with a farm with my kids, and we were looking at how fat their stomachs were, how they're just a big ball.
Like he's wearing a jacket.
Yeah, feeler jacket, like a hipster goat. And then like some kind of deer hunter, but not Robert De Niro, obviously. That's my son drawing on the iPad, and that's Batman taking a kicking. And then this was after a cycling trip I did in Italy, and I went up this climb that was known as one of the hardest in cycling, and it was just the worst day I've had on a bike ever. So I drew how I felt, really. Kind of space pirates. I don't know what's going on here.
They're cool.
Mini bike race. Quite like with the guy in front, the punk rocker guy.
The horse too.
Yeah, it's just like, are you guys finished? Another mecha piece. Again, like I said, a lot of it's born out of those early scribbles. I have an idea of the pose, but I'm sort of looking for interesting shapes. It's a lot of guys whose work really interested me, and I think, like Moebius's approach to that often the armours feel a bit more like organic shapes. Like when we worked at Games Workshop, there were definite shapes, but they're all quite rigid, geometric things, and I like to play with the more organic shapes a bit more. Then Batman caught in an alleyway by the police. A few people have proposed that maybe he was urinating in a public place and he's been caught in flagrante or whatever the term is. I think after that it's probably client work that I shouldn't show.
And you fill up 5 of these a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the next one, so I've just started this one since I've been here. I just keep. Terada did me a drawing that will be cut out and framed. But yeah, I just keep chipping away at it, and then obviously the demo we just did.
Yeah.
The big Kopinski. First Super Annie book I've done. It's available through Super Annie US or my website. So it's quite nice as well because it's hardcover, and I didn't do a hardcover book before, and I produced this piece specifically for the cover of the book. And then a few of these pieces hadn't been seen before. It's got my dog in there, Molly. And then my son's idea to put a mouse on top of the bear's head. Got a lot of pages of these pencil sketches I did. A lot of these I self-published in volume 1 and 2, but it's out of print now, so we decided to collect them together in one volume and make a big book about it. Dragons, samurai rabbit hunters, got it all. Big variety of subject matter. Well, not that big because it's pirates again, isn't it, and Vikings. So it's quite interesting looking back because some of this was done for Inktober. Early days of trying my hand at Inkworks, so I'm still sort of learning a bit. Quite like this one, I was always pleased with this one. And she looks like she's really doing something, and you know, she's sort of sexy, but she's actually doing something. She's got big hands though. Big hands. Yeah, it's interesting going back looking at these. They were studies for a poster I did for Luca Comics and Games. So they're your initial character in there. But yeah, there's a nice colour section at the back actually. That was a personal painting I did. It's one of the few I've sold that I was a bit regretful about selling. I don't like the wings though, they annoy me. Like that one's alright, but what's going on there? I don't know. That should be down here maybe. Ugh. I'm glad I sold it now.
Fastest turnaround.
Yeah. These are just playing with watercolours a little, and then these are for a client called Mini or Knots, which got made into little 26mm figurines for a board game. And again, quite nice because he just asked me to do my take on some kind of techie bits. Some of the last pieces I did digitally, these are some kind of fantasy Joker character there. I think there's Fantasy Batman as well. These were for Zombicide, another game they did.
Do you ever plan on venturing back into digital, or do you just prefer traditional?
I don't know. Procreate sort of appeals to me, I think. Just because it's a bit more of a natural interface, you know, it's there on my lap. So I'm quite interested in that. And then having seen Katsuya Terada's drawings, when he was over here, we were sharing the Airbnb, and he went through his iPad and showed me some of the playback on Procreate. It was really cool. So then I was like, I'm going to go on Procreate. That's my wife as a gangster from the Godfather board game I did. More of the black and white. Some pretty old drawings now, but it's quite nice to flick back through them and remind myself. So yeah, there we go.
Nice! Thanks, Karl. I love the sketchbook. And I even got myself the big Kopinski with an original illustration on the cover. If you're liking these videos, hit me with one of those thumbs. And if you want me to bring other artists into the studio for some demos and sketchbook tours, let me know who. I'm definitely interested in bringing as many amazing people into the studio as I can. All right, see you tomorrow.